Yeah. Hey,
Jimmy is
Trav.
the bearded
Yeah,
one.
buddy. What's up, man? All
Yeah,
right.
the bearded one. That's usually how I'm found.
His beard now arrives about a few minutes before he arrives into the.
I remember you from back in the day, man. How's it going?
Good, brother. Good. Happy to be here on with you.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, so I was just saying to Cross Trav that we had a chance to do it last week, but he was on his cell phone and I could hear the answers and they were good and then all of a sudden would cut out and I'm like I wanted to give him a chance to really be able to speak and be heard.
Yeah. I heard a couple clips of it, and I remember watching my older brother Jordan, who does a lot of the cutting and editing. I just remember watching him just struggle because he's like that sounds like a good answer, but it's cut this that. Like he's trying to like piece it all together and make it look smooth, and he'll be much happier now, much happier.
All right. Well, it's all right. We could do it again,
Yeah. So one of the first questions I asked you last time, and I'm going to ask you again now, is when and how did you get started in wrestling?
Well, I started wrestling when I was in the 3rd grade, and I started really picking it up when I got a little bit older. But I started in the 3rd grade, and my brothers actually brought me there. I wanted to start in the 2nd grade, but I was too young. They said that I didn't have the experience yet, so I started out in the 3rd grade, and right away, I had a knack for the sport. I wasn't the best, but I was more athletic than most kids, so that kind of put me at an advantage. And I love the sport, and I just kind of went from there.
Were you kind of natural at it right away, or were you like a lot of people in the sport where you lose your first 10 matches and have to like buy into the sport a little bit, or were you just coming out the gate firing at guys?
I was athletic, so that's what really helped me out. I muscled kids. They have the best technique when I first started. So I kind of just went out there and threw some halves and hip toss kids over. Until I really developed my technique when I got older. So it was more athleticism. At that age, I'd say.
Cool.
How did you said you had 2 older brothers. How much older are they than you?
One of my brothers is 28. The other one's 26. So
Nice.
they have those years.
Yeah. So how did having 2 brothers who are older and into wrestling, how did that help you or not? How did that help you in with wrestling?
Well, yeah, I'm 22, so those years they had on me, I mean, they were always tough on me, not too tough, but tough in a way, to push me, in all sports, football, baseball, wrestling, they kind of always were like my backbone, I'd say. They always had my back and, always wanted, to do my best. They always went to my games and supported me and all that. So I'm appreciative of that, to some good brothers, at the start of all of it,
Is that where you say like your competitive drive came from? Like obviously competing against them, but also trying to chase them a little bit, right? Like trying to, accomplish what they have or maybe haven't accomplished?
Yeah, actually, my brother wrestled for Trumbull, and his senior year, I was at every single event. I mean, he placed in the state. He wasn't like a state champ or like one of the top guys. But I love the sport. So when I was there, I watched him. Even if he lost, I picked up on everything. And I was there every single dual meet. We go to Trumbull. Let's say he had to go to Ram or somewhere far across the state. I traveled with him. And watching. I was a little boy. And I just picked up on all of it. I absorbed it all.
Cool.
You can relate to that, Trav.
Like, when did you kind of realize that you had a knack for it? And I guess how did your mindset change a little bit as far as your preparation, right? Like a little more than just going to practice every day, right? Like it wasn't about just going to practice every day. It was about a full lifestyle. And like, how and when did that transition for you?
I'd probably say when I was in 7th, 8th grade, when I was, getting older and I was transitioning over into high school. I was in that late middle school phase. I wish I picked up and started earlier. That travel phase, that year-round phase. I wish I started doing that. When I was in elementary school or early middle school. But I started really picking it up. Traveling, going year-round, going to different clubs, different tournaments. End of 7th grade, that's when I really, realized that, I wanted to start winning at the next level, and, chasing all the best competition, and going to all the best camps like J-Rob, Cornell Intensive, all that. So
Did anything like specific, like were there any specific like training that you did that you really felt separated you from anyone else? Like something that you were just like, I do this and no one else is doing this. Like I'm crushing this hill every day. Like you have a secret training thing that you always can go back to.
To be honest, that's kind of the way I thought. I kind of thought, if I thought about my competition, right, and I was like, all right, well, my competition's probably going this hard. What am I going to do that's going to separate myself? That's going to put me away from these. What's going to, break me free from the field. So I thought of that type of stuff. And that's what kind of drove me. To work a little extra harder. Travel the extra hour. Kind of having that competition factor. Kind of. And my father used to drive me like 52 miles, one way to get to a practice, all that. So I also had a support system, which was very helpful.
Nice. Yeah, that's those long hauls just to get to practice are a lot. I envy that. So
yeah.
So when you were in high school, and I know you placed in class, or you won class twice. And then in your senior year, you won state opens. Was it at that point where you knew you could kind of compete on a high level in college? Is that what gave you the kind of the courage, or not the courage, maybe just the confidence that you could compete at that next level?
Yeah, by that point in my career, I knew that I wanted to wrestle in college, and I already had a New England title in sight, but I also had in the back of my mind that national title, so I knew by then, because I didn't play any other sports in high school. So by that stage of my career, wrestling was, my priority and what I wanted to take to the next level. So, yeah.
How do you go about your like goal setting for that? Was it just I want to win state or New England, and that whatever it takes to get there, or was it like a slow build process? What was kind of your mental vision going into those years, or maybe even years after going to college?
The way I kind of thought of it is like when I would put a lot of time into it. Like every day I was always doing something to better myself. So when I put all that time into it, that's what kind of, motivated me, and kind of, was what, drove me, the amount of work that I put in, all that effort, time, it's like, if I'm going to put all this in, I might as well be the best. There's no reason to go, half-ass or, take second, so that take second is what really, really motivated me to become a champion.
Yeah. You always want to win the last match of the day, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I agree. And some people say like third place is almost better than second. Do you agree with that?
No, I don't agree. Second place is better than third. It may feel better. It may feel better, but that higher placement's always better. I don't care what anyone says.
I like that. Yeah, like
maybe I'm just too competitive. I don't know.
Well, no. I mean, I agree that short-term reward, right? It feels great. I'm like, oh, well, I won my last match of the day, but in an hour and a half, long term, when you get on the podium, you look over and you're like, well, I'm on 3 and there's 2 and 1 next to me, so it definitely a little delayed. But I remember we're coaching at Richfield and had a couple guys be like, oh, well, like I won that last match of the day. And we're looking back and we're like, yeah, that was great. And then like a couple hours later, he's like, man, I could have won that semifinal. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think sometimes when you're coaching, there's that when you look at the kids, you're like, okay, he lost a tough match, but he found the courage and he found the grind to make it back to win, take third. So it kind of like is rewarding in that regard. But I know that once you leave that gym and you get home and you kind of look at the medal and you go, bronze, I really should have taken silver. And if I was taking silver, well, hell, I was in that match. I might as well win again and take gold. right? So it's kind of like
Exactly. Yep.
thinking about it, like, why not? As you said, why not? You know?
Exactly.
Put in all that work. So
Yeah, you put in all that work. Yeah.
thinking on like the same thing they were talking about, right? Like you just said, Dad, like recovering, you have a tough match, you lose, recovering to earn your way back to the podium, right? Because sometimes you lose early on in a tournament, right? Sometimes it's the second round and it's a long haul. I'm sure
Right.
that's happened to you in your career, regardless of how successful you've been. What type of things did you do to reset yourself mentally? What type of communication do you have with yourself or your coach to reset and get in a groove that you can get back to the podium?
The school at Wartburg College, we pride ourselves on doing it anyway. No matter how you feel, what the circumstances, you're going to do it anyway. So, and we also, my coach also preached to me to take one match at a time. So you get these big brackets. These brackets would be huge. Everyone would be, gossiping and worrying, and coach would bring us in. You just say, guys, one match at a time. Focus on your task at hand. So, and let's say you lose that semifinal, or a quarter, you get upset, and you're on that backside. What's the goal ahead? What's the goal now? What do you have to do now? And that's the next match.
Yeah, short memories, right?
Yeah.
Little increments.
Yep, not much time in those tournaments.
Yeah, well, and especially when it's those, wrestling is so different from a lot of other sports where it's long days. It's 10 hours in a gym where you have to compete over and over again. Like, you can't waste your time thinking about what just happened for another hour and a half while you're getting ready for your match. It's got to be that quick. What's in front of me? Just what is in front of your face? Even if it's just refueling, right? Even if it's just your lunchbox, right? Like, after a match, like, what is in front of me? I got to go refuel. I got to get in that lunchbox and get my electrolytes and, power bar, whatever it might be.
Yeah, I mean, usually too. I mean, I've been there too. If I lose like a big match, which just happened to me, I'm angry. So if I go down to that backside, part of me is also angry. So I come out firing after something like that happens.
Nice.
So along the line of Travis's questions, so take us through a little bit. Like, there's probably going to be a lot of wrestlers listening to this podcast. What was your routine for a tournament? You wrestled at 149 for your college championship year. When did you get up? When did you start warming up? What was going in? What was in your earphones? And what did you do? What was your preparation getting into every match when you're in the tournament?
First, I'd focus on, when I'm at the tournament, making weight and feeling good, making sure, everything's feeling good. I'm not too sucked out. That week leading up to the tournament, I was doing everything right, eating the right foods, doing the right things, training the right way, training, shooting your best shots, training, doing everything right. So, when the tournament comes, that you're already ready to go. You prepared, for that week or, that whole season leading up to it. So, by the time, the tournament comes in the weigh-in, you're ready to go. So, like I said before, you're just focusing on what's at hand, that next match. You get a good sleep.
If we were to magnify it though, and just kind of look at, I guess like a little more specifics, like, right, like, it's 3 weight classes before you're about to wrestle. Like, when are you thinking that you got to get up and get loose? Like, what's kind of that, not like your overall routine for like the whole tournament getting ready, but just as far as each match goes, how much pre warm up time before a match are you getting ready? Or are you kind of one of those just loosey goosey, I'll do a stretch and get on the mat? Or are you drilling like hard, getting the sweat going? What's your kind of right before a match?
I drill, and then after I drill for a while, maybe I'll do some like hand fighting, then maybe like a live go for, I don't know, a couple minutes. You don't want to go too hard and exert yourself. And then after that, I'll maybe do 2 sprints, across the gym and back, completely blow out my lungs, because you want to blow out your lungs before you wrestle, because you don't want to be out there, and not be able to breathe. Especially the kids going a million miles an hour. You gotta be able to dictate the pace. So I feel like blowing out your lungs is really important before a match.
So like those last like you finish those last two sprints. Are you like up next right when you finish those? Like it's like finish those a minute or two and you're on the mat strapped up, or
No, that's usually before the round starts.
okay. What about after the round started? You're getting right ready for the match.
Usually I have headphones in, I'm staying to myself, just thinking about what I'm going to do, the task at hand, how I'm going to do it, thinking about how I'm going to execute. I'm pacing usually, about 2 matches before I go out there, I start pacing, and getting myself ready mentally and physically.
Just trusting your body, trusting the process that got you there.
Yep.
Nice.
A little earlier, you had mentioned, Cross, you had mentioned that, you kind of like, you understand the motions and you know exactly what needs to be done, prepared for it. How much, if any, visualization did you do? Did you take like the day when you did everything right, when you ate right, when you did everything right, and you just had that flowing motion in a tournament? Were you able to recall that at any point when you needed it, to say like, maybe the night before another big tournament, you're like, remember that? I was focused, this is exactly what I need to do, and I kind of visualize and go through that? Do you do much of that?
Yeah. A lot of it was visualization, leading up to those big tournaments. Even that visualization even started for me like even a month before the tournament, leading up to the tournament, just every night, cutting weight, just having that dream and that goal in your mind, is what, got me out of bed in the morning, is what got me to that extra practice, to do those extra sprints, that goal. I even used to dream about, the goal of becoming a champion. You have to become obsessed. You have to really ride on it.
Something I used to always kind of repeat in my head, and I feel like I'm hearing it here, is just make it worth it, right? Like make all this effort worth it. If this is what you want to do, if you want to get that championship, it's gonna take that time. But if you put it, it's gonna make it worth it, right? Like get it out of it what you want from what you're putting in. So.
Yeah, and I feel like your goals have to be very clear and specific too on what you want to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Cross, so just one follow-up on the visualization. When you visualized, was it always positive, or did you kind of visualize sometimes, I'm in a match, the guy gets a takedown, and here's how I adjust to it? Did you have that in there as well, or was it always just, Cross goes in, takes him down, pins him, and it's over?
I feel like it's just trusting your skills. I mean, obviously we're all human, so sometimes you have, different types of thoughts, about what's going to happen in the match, especially if you know the kid or you wrestled him before, you might have an idea of what's going to happen. But, I just try to focus on myself and what I'm going to be doing, my offense, my leg attacks, my defense, all that, what I'm going to be doing, what I've been practicing every day, from listening to my coach and, that scoring points, so I feel like it's more of that, obviously you're going to have those negative thoughts, not even negative, but, just thoughts of what's maybe your other guy's going to do. But, I would say you try to stay away from that and focus on your own self and, yeah.
So tell us a little bit about, getting into college, and once you got to college, I know you had some pretty lofty goals. Tell us about the goals you had, and, take us through your couple of seasons, your first couple of seasons, and getting to the championship, to the national championship.
So when I first started college, well, right at the end of my senior year, right at the end of that August, right before I took off, I wrote my goals on my bed, and I wrote 4-time NCAA champion on my bed frame. So when I woke up, I looked up and I saw that every morning, and I had that, and I had that dream, that drive to be a 4-time NCAA champion, and I kept it up that whole year, and that year didn't work out for me. I didn't achieve my goal, so I had to tear that down, and I wrote 3-time NCAA champion. And every year I got second that next year, and I fell short. I was like, no, I can't, not a 3-timer. I was like, I gotta go for a 2-time now. So that next year I finally got it done. So I put it down and I put 2-time, so I always had my goals somewhere.
That's awesome that you just kept adjusting
Yeah.
to it. I mean,
Yeah.
hey, keep clawing for it. It's clearly it was clearly an achievable goal. So I'm
Yeah.
glad you were able just to kind of reset and just like, all right, it's the same goal. You weren't far away from doing it, so do it again. Right? I love that. Were you were mentioning earlier like some of like the tough camps you might have gone to, or just the long days traveling with your dad. Something that I don't know if you guys talked about the last time you talked, but we a lot here is like something called like a badass bag. So like, some tough situations in your life, whether it's personal or social or even just training type things, a marathon, what have you, something really tough that you just that you were able to overcome, and now you lean back on that, like, I did that, so this is going to be a breeze. You have any specific memories like that?
Yeah, there's a couple things, but probably the thing that stood out the most was the sacrifice that I had to do. In the beginning, before I really caught that focus, I was getting sidetracked a little bit. I was hanging out with some friends, like on the weekends when I should have been in the gym. I had to change that, and I would get calls from my buddies after school on Friday nights, and I had team tugman practice, later that night, and you're like, "Yo, come over, come hang out." Or I said, "No, I have to go to practice. I have to go to practice." So like you go to practice every day, just come hang out. It's the weekend, man. I'm like, man, I have goals, and honestly, they respected that. I at first I didn't think they would, but they did respect that, and looking back now, I'm really glad I did do that.
That's awesome. It probably even makes you a closer friend, because one, that they're calling you, so they want to hang out, and two, they're able to respect that you had that goal, see you accomplish it, and I'm sure they're still around today. So that those must be some good guys you got there.
For sure.
That's awesome.
So, I know, we spoke off air a little bit, and you had said that your mom got you into wrestling. You told us that your brothers were wrestlers. Who, if anyone, whether it's a coach or a teammate or anyone, who is like the biggest inspiration to you as a wrestler, to motivate you?
My father was he was a big motivator, and he motivated and pushed me and supported me. If I wanted to go to a tournament, he was there. Sometimes he even pushed me to go to a tournament, because he didn't, he was a good father and almost a coach, because he didn't push things on me, but he knew the goals and, aspirations that I had. So, and he was completely there behind it to make sure I was, going to achieve it. And he was going to do whatever he could too.
That's
Now
awesome.
almost every weekend
I know
watching
the
me
feeling.
out there.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so aside from that, did you have an accountability partner? Someone that would hold your feet to the fire if the moments you might have slipped, and the moments you might have said, hey, I'm going to skip this workout today, or I'm feeling a little tired, my back hurts. Did you have a teammate or accountability partner that said to you, "Dude, Cross, we got to go work out, man. Let's get your ass out of bed and let's go"?
Yeah, my buddy, he's from Massachusetts. He was a 3-time NCAA champion. He passed away.
Yeah, we know him well.
Last year from a seizure, but he coached me from all those years I was at Wartburg, and he was a really big motivator, and he was a part of my the support system. He was the leader. Whenever if I was feeling down and if I was in the room, he was there to lift me up. My freshman year, I didn't get the varsity spot, for my team in Iowa, and I was devastated, and, I was going to come home, and, I was almost going to quit wrestling. I was devastated, and he said, "Cross, just stick with it. I know this is tough right now. This is just a little speed bump, kid." He goes, "Just stick with it, and, trust me, and follow me, and you'll become a champion." And he, that really hit home for me when he said that. And, after that, I didn't get the spot, but the next day I was back in the warping room, and they were getting ready for the NCAAs, and I was just training with them, like I was going too. So Kenny really helped me out a lot.
That's great.
Yeah,
Great.
and I know that, following you over the years on, on social media, I know, when he passed, it was a pretty devastating loss to you. And so, our condolences. Obviously we've known Kenny through, I've been coaching for 17 years, in New England. So he definitely knew who he was. He was a bad dude when he was in high school, and he was a bad dude when he was in college. And glad to see that he was such an inspiration and a leader to you. So that's awesome.
Yeah, he was a great kid. Thanks, Coach.
Yeah,
Appreciate that.
Absolutely. So tell us about, the breakthrough year, man. I mean, you had the first year where you didn't get the chance to wrestle and you were devastated, but, you had a good leader and mentor to kind of keep you on track and get you back in the gym. Sophomore year, you had a great year. You got all the way to the finals, didn't get it done, but, you put everything into it. And tell us about the breakthrough year. Let's have some fun with this, man. Talk about that big victory.
So I was 141 in 2017. Now I was cutting a lot of weight, too much weight. And that next year, I ended up getting second that year. And I was like, all right, I can't, cut this weight anymore. And I also had a 2-time national champion at 149. So, and he was graduating. So I was like, all right, it's my time to go up now. He's gone. So I filled into that weight perfect. It was a perfect weight for me. And I should have stayed there, but I went up that next year. So yeah, when that year started, I worked real hard that summer. I lifted every day. I went running outside. I was drilling, was going live. I stayed in really good shape. And that year started, and that first match, I got like a tech fall. And right after that first match, I knew it was going to be my year, because I felt it. I felt like I was on a different level than those kids. I supreme confidence at that moment, so once that I got that first match.
Match one?
Yeah, the first match. The first match. Yep. Yep.
That's what's up.
And then I won 34-0 that year, and just everything was clicking for me. I worked so hard, and the trust in my hard work, really is what, was the culminating factor of it all, The trust in my coaches, the program, my father didn't even miss a match that year, just came to Iowa almost every week. It was a really, really good year. My team also won too. We broke the NCAA record for team points that year. So we really capped it off.
Yeah, it was a perfect season there.
That's a thing. So I mean, obviously you didn't lose it all that year. So it's tough to have like a real, obstacle to overcome. But was there any time where that supreme confidence like faltered a little bit, or you had to reassure yourself with that supreme confidence? Were there any downfalls, or was it just your off-season training was so good that you didn't worry about it? Were there any negatives to that year?
I mean, not really. There was this kid that cut down from 157. He All-American. He took like third in the country at 157, and he was cutting down to 149. He was at our rival school, Loras College, and he was cutting down to wrestle me at 149. So I was like, this kid's cutting down to wrestle me, and that really motivated me, to amp up my training and get that killer instinct, because I was not losing to this kid coming down to try to beat me. That pissed me off, and yeah.
Who do you think he was, Loudon Swain?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking.
He's not Loudon, because we're looking at the man right here, 34-0.
Right. Yeah, I get it, but I mean, the mindset.
You didn't pull that off.
Yeah, the mindset.
But yeah, also during that year, I think I was like 20-0 at this point, and I was at the national duels, and it was in Indiana that year, and I was wrestling this kid from New Jersey, and I shot in on his leg, and he I think he like limp leg, he like just hit something really good and got 2 on me, and I was down 2-0. I escaped. He hit a lefty high C. I was down 4-1. I was like, oh snap! I was like, I'm in for a scrap here, and I ended up escaping, and it was like back and forth. He was beating me. then all of a sudden there was a minute left in the match. I shot in my patent single leg. I got in and he just held on. I sat back with it, and it was one of those deals where he was holding on to my crotch area, and if he had to let go, and if he wasn't gonna let go, his leg was gonna break. So I just kept sitting back, and rightfully so, his leg broke. It wasn't my fault, and he injured fault got the win. But that was just another speed bump throughout that season. That was crazy.
Yeah. So what so you were just saying like, oh shit, that's gonna be a scrap. When you go down 4-1, that mindset, is that like, are you like almost happy that you're down 4-1 because you're like, all right, I have this gear in my bag? Like, does that like jack you up, like you're not even worried about it, or is that like a breathe and reset moment? Like, which one do you go to?
I mean, I was concerned, after that first period. I looked over my coach and I was just kind of like, just like, like, what am I going to do here? I'm in for a battle, so it was, it was kind of like in the moment type of thing. You kind of, go back to your training and all that, and that's what kind of pushed me through. And, I feel like made me get that win that day.
Yeah, just kind of like, let's start over. I know how to wrestle. I'm gonna hit my hot, like you said, like your patent single, right? Like when you need to, you go to what you do best. You only need 4 moves to win a championship, and you just like went back to it, reset yourself, and just kept plugging along. Right? There's plenty of time left in the match.
Yeah, like I'm the type of kid that that gets motivated easy. Kind of. I've been watching The Last Dance on ESPN, and Michael Jordan says that a lot too. He would get motivated by the littlest things, like my senior year. This kid Ryan Epps, who's a 2-time national champ, he was a champ the year before at 157, and I was at 49, and he beat my buddy in the finals, and I won at 49, and I was like, I'm gonna go up and I'm gonna beat this kid. I was like, this kid can't win it. Like, that motivated me. So I went to his school for the duel, and I bumped up to 57. And there was a video before it. And he's like, I'm gonna beat this kid, and he was talking smack a little bit, and I was like, he shouldn't have wished that upon himself. And I went out there, I majored him. I beat him like 12-4. I was hitting everything on him, just all my best shots, everything that I trained, just everything was hitting that night. And he ended up winning the national tournament that year. He beat the kid that I lost to on a disqualification. He stalled the kid out. The kid got 5 stalls. So just a crazy story, to my career. And he looked over at me after and said, "I respect you." So
yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, because I beat his ass, I bet.
So, like you talk about Michael Jordan, and, sometimes he said that he actually just creates things to get him pissed off or get him motivated. It sounds like you did similar.
Yes.
So after that year, that was a phenomenal year. It was like almost the perfect season. And for you, it was the perfect season. And then next year, you kind of go up a weight class, right? And you wind up taking 3rd. Obviously, there had to be somewhat of disappointment for you. How did you handle that?
What when I took 3rd?
Yeah.
I was definitely upset, but I understood. It's a part of the sport. I calculated my weight wrong. I should have stayed at 49. I feel like I would have been a 2-time NCAA champ with I bonus pointed my way through the whole tournament. But just one of those things. You look back on. Life goes on. I learned from it, and then I'm hopefully going to be able to help other kids. So they could learn from me and become a champion.
So talking about kids learning from you, what would like 1 or 2 words of advice, like if you had to tell a group of youth wrestlers like 2 things that they need to remember, whether it's sports or life or anything, like what are 2 things that you really think the young generation needs to lock in and start working on now?
I think first they should set a serious goal on what they want to do. They have to be serious about it. It's one thing to write the goal, but to write the goal and truly believe that you could do it, you know, that even includes, you know, breaking that goal down, you know, weekly, yearly, you know, daily. And also I feel like it's sacrifice, you know, you have to be able to sacrifice. And if you could have a goal and sacrifice to achieve that goal, the sky's the limit.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
It sounds so simple. It sounds so simple when you say it like that.
Yeah, it's not simple though, right?
Yeah.
That's great. That's great.
I wish I was a kid listening to this.
Yeah.
I'd be
Right.
a 4-time right now.
And that's why we're doing this. And that's why we're doing this podcast. And that's why we want to have people like you on here to show the young guys and girls that, you know, it is possible. It is about dreaming. It is about setting goals. It is about having a process and being committed to it and being willing to sacrifice. And the more they hear that from Cross Cannone or, you know, Richard Perry or whoever it might be that we have on this podcast, that's our goal. That's our goal, to kind of have more people believing that. And whether it's in lacrosse or wrestling or music or whatever, we want them to believe that they can achieve it. So we love having you on for that reason. And you talked about, you know, with Travis just now about what can you share with young people. I know that you're going to be coaching at Fairfield Prep starting next year. And
No way.
that means Coach Travis will
Yeah.
be coaching against you for the next couple of years. So, you know,
That's
I'm
cool.
sure those are things that you're going to share with them as well. And, you know, we want to wish you luck, not too much luck because we got to beat you guys. But anybody else you wrestle against, we hope you do well. And
Yeah, that keeps you improved.
I don't even think we see you during the regular season.
no,
Not in a dual meet, but at a lot of tournaments.
yeah, we'll see you at tournaments.
Oh,
A
okay.
couple tournaments.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
That's cool.
as long as you're not wrestling, we're okay. So we're not really.
Yeah, my days are over, man.
Yeah. So, yeah, we're gonna wrap this up, but we really appreciate you coming on with us. And you know, we'll be looking forward to following what you do in wrestling with coaching, and you know, just we're kind of neighbors, you know, living in Fairfield County, so we'll always be in touch with you guys, and you know, maybe we'll have you back on at some other date. But we really appreciate you having you on tonight, man.
Appreciate
Sure.
it, Cross.
Yeah. Hey, thank you guys. I really respect Tiger's Edge. I think you guys are doing a great job with that, and keep it up. I'll see you guys in season or sometime before then.
All right,
Appreciate it, buddy.
Thanks so much, man.
Take
Take
care,
care.
guys. So long.
Yeah.